Hello everyone, Ted here from eModels. In this video we're going to just look at some of the pre-painting preparation. I did say in the last video that I wasn't going to do the next one until we're ready to put some paint on. However, what we're going to look at doing in this one is some pre-weathering and also some highlights onto the panel lines. However, before we start that, I'm going to give a quick shout out as promised to a young lad called Dave Fleming, who a few weeks ago took the time to write a letter to eModels to say how much he enjoys our videos and also how much he enjoys his modelling himself. That's well done, Dave, for writing in and actually writing pen and paper, not a text or an email or Snapchat or any other electronic means, but the dying art of writing a letter. Thanks, Dave. This video is for you, so let's get on with the build. Right, just before we start painting them, I did say that if I found any problems with it, I'd point them out to you as we went along through the build. Not really a problem this, just a bit of needing to take care with your model as you're building it really. I've been a little bit clumsy. You may remember in the last video I pointed out that the vent underneath on the back of the radiator was a little bit fragile because of the plastic rod that holds the vent in the open position if you want to do it in that way, and replace the plastic rod with a piece of brass. I've also found that the moving surfaces, the control surfaces, are a little bit fragile just on the wings and on the tail. The hinges that hold them on are quite soft. It's usual Airfix soft type plastic, and if the hinges start to bind or anything like that, they do come a little bit prone to being broken, which I found was the problem with this one. Moving up and down, I tried to move it when it didn't want to move and it broke. So rather than try and fiddle and sort out the hinge, I just decided that I'd leave it and glue the I can't quite remember the name of these on the tail. This moving surface, I glued it into a still position. That's the only one that's glued now. The others still work as normal. Not a big deal. It's unfortunate it's not going to work, but I think when it's nicely sat on the coffee table, you just won't bother touching it. Now then, you'll probably see that the aircraft itself, the model, is taking on a two-tone type colour now. It looks like in the video a two-tone grey. What I've done here is I've had a think about where all the wear and tear places would be on the aircraft, such as down here where the pilot or his oppos would walk up the wing to work in the cockpit or onto the engine. Also around the gun bays where the armourers and such would open and close lockers and doors and such like that, and down at the front of the wings where there's going to be a natural wear and tear of debris in the air as the aircraft goes through the air. I've also done it in preparation across the propeller nose cone and the propellers themselves. I've actually just used the same colour that we've used in the rest of the build, which is Humbrol 56, which is an aluminium. What I'm going to do is I'll actually going to use a technique where we will put Humbrol Maskol onto the area. A different technique, very similar to the hairspray technique, putting it on where you think the wear and tear would be, but unlike the hairspray technique where we will decide at the end of the process, doing it this way we'll need to make up our minds where we're going to do the wear and tear, so we can put this on before the base coat colours go on. Obviously we're going to need to mask it. we'll cover these up with some masking tape, the gun bays. We'll also do the same with the cockpit as well. We'll mask that off as well, and I am hoping that if I can find them, I'll find a way of just temporarily fixing the engine covers onto the engine, just so that then I can get a sort of a continual flow of colour across the whole, can you see that? Across the whole of the aircraft, and then these panels could be left at one side, perhaps just if you're building a diorama or something like that, the panels can be left at one side. On the underside, what I found, somebody had found as they were building their own model, that if you are building the aircraft with the wheels down, you can actually use the wheel covers from the wheels up position and just put them in there and use them as a mask for the wheel wells. Just a little bit of trimming to trim some of the tabs off the side, but they just then more or less click in there. I haven't got the other one to hand at the moment. They just click in there and that will mask your wheel well. You'll see as well that I've put the flaps on the wings. I haven't glued them on because these will be glued in the open position, or they'll be put in the open position, flaps down like that, but they will fit in there quite nicely and lay down, maybe with maybe just tack them down with some PVA glue. Just tack them down in the position there, and then that way when it comes to doing the inversion stripes, let's just put this down, put that back on the stand like that. When it comes to doing the inversion stripes, if you're putting the inversion stripes on, you'll get a continuous line where they would have been painted on, and not trying to do them separately. There's the wing flap from the starboard side. You'll get the inversion stripes to move along in one fluid motion, and you won't have to then try and match them up with the wing flaps separate. So hopefully that should be easy. Right, let's have a little go first of how we're going to do this chipping technique with the Humbrol Maskell. What we need is just I find it's easier, rather than applying it from the bottle, is just to use a separate sort of surface. I've got some acetate here. I have stirred and shook this just before we started filming, and then all we're going to need is just drop some of this out on here. This is just a liquid latex. If you've not seen Humbrol Maskell before, it's just really a liquid latex that's easy to apply. Just dries, and when it's dried and we've overpainted it, we can then just take it off. It just rubs off. So we've really got to think now where the natural places of wear and tear would be. Now that if we had this aircraft, there's the flaps falling off. I just put them on to show you what we were going to do with them. If you had this aircraft now flying through the air, it would be hitting all sorts of debris in the air. You know how you drive down the motorway and get a dead fly in your bonnet? Well, there's all sorts of grit, and as these aircraft were low flying as well, there'd be sort of dust and muck and everything flying up. Just apply a touch and draw it back. A touch and draw it back. If you don't like it, just a little rag, bit of tissue. He says try and find some. If you don't like it, just rub it back off. You take your time with it. There's going to be loads of it to do. And also, once again, when it dries, if you don't like it, you could take it off. You see what we're doing here? Just touching it on. You can do this with a brush as well, but I wouldn't use a top range brush, just something cheap and cheerful, because it will really ruin your brush, this. Once it dries, you can get the stuff out, but it might as well have a disposable brush and throw it off. Just trying to keep this in shot for you. It's a little bit difficult doing it so that you can see what I'm doing. And try and imagine it as a splatter, a blob, and then drag it back as though there's a scratch or something's run over the surface. The detail on this aircraft, obviously, as we know, is fantastic, and you can pick out where's the little pointy stick, you can pick out in the wing itself things like fuel filler caps. That's a natural place that something would get worn, so we could put some of the mask all around there. And obviously round the gun bays as well, where the armourer would be sat, feeding the rounds back in. There's a filler cap there as well. If you remember, we fitted a fuel tank under this wing. And the secret is just to take your time. It'll be really worth the effort in the long run, this. Try to get it to look natural, particularly if you think that on this side here, just move my aircraft stands around. If you look on this side here, let's get it into shot for you. There's obviously the steps that big stick, big pointy stick. There's the steps that the pilot would use to gain access to the aircraft. So obviously with his flying boots and his ground engineer, his ground crew going up to fasten his belts with him, that's all going to get worn away. So just touch it round. You will be able to see these because it will dry as you leave it. If it's a blob, it'll become a blob, and when the paint's on, you'll be able to see where it is and rub it off. So that's that. Let's see if we can just zoom it in a little bit. Let's move the aircraft down so you can just see what we're doing. There's some light on the matter. There, can you see that? I think the pink just stand out a little bit, so you should be able to see what we're doing. Then just not too much, just touch it around the edges and continue this as much, if I can keep my head out of the way, continue this as much or as little as you want. It's your aircraft, you do what you want with it. And that is how we are going to produce the wear and tear, the chipping technique on this aircraft. Because if you remember, they'll, in the end of it, at the end when all the decals and the paint goes on, there's actually a wear area here. There's a black stripe. Oh, let's get it into focus. Come on, into focus. Let's zoom it back out. You'll see down here there's an area of it's like a walkway. There's a black tread area. So all along there it will all be worn and the paint scratched off. So have a think, have a look around at some of the photographed and actually even the box art, which is reproduced here on the front. You can see in here some of the wear and tear that you can try and reproduce. Okay, so I'll get on with this and then we'll get back and we'll look at a bit of pre-shading and then we'll be moving on, not in this video, but for the next video we'll look at getting some of the base coat on. Right, I'll be back in a moment then. Okay, that's some of the chipping done now. Excuse me, if I can lift that up, and you can see where the purple mascol has gone on, where we've decided that we're going to chip it. I've also gone on and masked the areas that I don't want to get any paint in. I've just used some soft sponge, the type that you use for washing the dishes and things like that. Just cut some up and fill the places where I didn't want the paint to get into. And I've also had a go at putting the cowling on the front. Now that's not a perfect fit, because it's not designed that if you put the engine in you can put the cowlings on, or the engine covers, but I've made them sort of fit generally. It's just so that I can get a smooth flow when I come to do the camouflage. As I've said, we'll give it a smooth flow, and I've used the mascol for its intended purpose, to mask off the parts that needed to be free of paint. So what we're going to do now, we've done all that, what we're going to do is have a look at putting some of the pre-shading on, which will take us up to the stage of awaiting and getting ready for the base coat. It's a little bit big, this, just to get it into my homemade spray booth, but we'll get there in the end, and I'll show you a little bit how we do this. Now what I've done, what I'm going to use, the Humbrol Black 33 to highlight some of the panel lines and do the pre-shading, and then from then we'll go over that later on with the base coat. Now what I'm going to do, because I know that I've got quite a lot of painting to do, and we're going to use just a basic spray brush to do this, I actually use an old Vallejo bottle and decant my Humbrol Black into that. It's a lot easier to use. You can just go straight from the bottle into the spray cup. Just so if you ever use these Vallejo things, just keep the bottles when they're empty, clean them out, and you can use them. The end does pull out, and you can use them just to top up with your other paints. Really handy for when we're spray painting. So let's have a go at this. We really need it on just a low air pressure, somewhere about 10. I've found that I've used for this. I'm just wondering now if everything is all set up. Just a few drops of paint in there. I'm doing all this off camera, so you right. A few drops of just water, just to thin it. That's all we need. Don't need anything else special in this. Give it a little stir. I could try this. Let's turn the air compressor on and just do a couple of test shots just on the. Yep. Now what we're going to do is just pick out the panel lines and just give it a light. Doesn't need to be perfect, as you know, and that's just get the idea and the flow of it first. And just picking out the panel lines where you want them to be. You can always go back over it again just to give it a deeper colour. You can always go back and put more on. It's harder to go and take it off once you've put it on. So don't have to do every line. There's lots of lines on here. Just doing this one wing because the aircraft, the model now is so big that it's difficult to get it all into shot. You can be, as I explained on my other videos, you can be as rough and ready as you want with this, because just by adding some extra paint on the top coat you can cover up your mistakes. Remember, all this is going to do is highlight underneath the paint where the panel lines are, so we can, no, I can't move it round. I'm a little bit restricted for where I need to be. We're getting there now. And we just continue like this along the model. As I said at the start, this is just a quick video today, just a bit of a catch up while we are preparing for the paint to go on. I thought I'd show you this bit rather than come and have a look and miss what probably could be quite an important bit if you've not done it before. So anyway, I'm going to carry on with this now, and you'll be able to have a go yourself, and you'll end up with what you saw, the finished product, right at the start of the video. So it's just a matter of going along the panel lines, all the panel lines you want, and getting it done. So right, I'll continue with this. Next time we come along, we will be looking at putting some of the base coat on, getting some of a camouflage scheme on this. So really that's all it is. As I say, once again, it's a short video today, this one. We'll see you all next time, but thanks for watching, and thanks from everybody at eModels for having a look in, and we'll see you again. Thanks very much. We'll see you all later. Bye now.